speaking of real guns.
I actually have shot real guns.
Yeah.
And surprisingly fantastic at it.
And me too.
Right?
Yeah, they're not that hard.
Like
actually, the Glock 17 was probably the hardest gun I ever shot.
The hardest for me was the 1911.
Oh, I didn't get to shoot it because it was out of service.
Like, I remember, this was like 10 years ago. I'd been playing Airsoft for 10 years. I went over to Guam for a holiday. It was like $100 to go to Guam.
Yep.
I showed up. I was just walking around the streets drinking with my wife at the time. And we go past like a shooting range. And it's like, hey, a shooting range. I want to go there. I don't think I'm wearing a shirt. I'm wearing board shorts and thongs.
You're a bogan.
Sandals. And I walk into the shooting range.
Yeah.
I think I had a beer in my hand. And I was like, how much does this cost? And he's like, well, what do you want to shoot? I'm like,
everything.
And he's like, $100? I'm like, done.
So cheap. I spent $400 to shoot 12 guns.
I think I did 100 for 10 guns. I got like a magazine or, whatever each.
X rounds, yeah.
Yeah. And I started off with the M16. And I was so intimidated because it's such a long gun. You see it in all the movies.
Yeah, it's a 20-inch rifle.
Yeah. And then I fire it. And I was like, I hit the bullseye. I'm like, oh, this is easy. I was like, where's the recoil? He's like, have you turned the recoil off? And he's like, no, the recoil's on. I'm like, it's the same as the Airsoft one.
Yeah, because it's a long rifle.
It's such a long rifle. And there's like a spring or something in the stock.
And
I was like, wait, I can fire this one-handed. Like,
yeah, this is a real thing.
This is a real thing with two M16s. Like, that's not hard. I was so disappointed. I thought it was going to like blow my hand back or something, but it was nothing. And then I used a few shotguns and I really like braced into it.
Yep.
Nothing. I was like, oh, it's disappointing.
Yeah.
And then when I used a Glock with 9mm, I was impressed with that because I shot it, I had my grip and stuff, and then it went back like this. I'm like, oh, okay.
There you go.
That's more than Airsoft.
There you go.
And then I got the 1911 shooting 45 ACP, and I had a two-handed grip. I knew what I was doing. Boom! Hand was behind my head. I was like, wow. All right, let's try that again. And like really like lock in on that. I'm like controlling the recoil, but that 45 ACP was fantastic.
Awesome.
And then with a 500 Magnum, that blew my hand back as well.
Oh, yeah.
But those are the only things that I actually felt recoil that was like considerably different to Airsoft. Like the M16 and the NGRS, it's like
pretty close. Honestly, bro, like when I didn't even shoot it, but like
you were playing with a Vector.
The Vector, I've also shot like an AK and
I didn't get to shoot an AK. I wanted to shoot that.
If you think about it, because AR-15s are designed to have very low recoil because of the buffer spring.
Yep.
The gas blowback is probably close to what it is. The only difference, I think, when you're shooting a real gun is that there's no explosion at the front to bring the muzzle up like this.
There's no muzzle rise.
But that blowback is still the same. Like it didn't, like when I shot the Vector, it just felt like a gas blowback gun. Like I'm not even lying to you. The only difference is that I had to actually pull down a little bit because it's a Vector, so the recoil goes this way.
Yeah.
But that was the only thing that was kind of different. And when I shot an AK with the Woodstock and it was 7.62, and I was like, oh, that's gonna hurt because there's no buffer spring, right? It wasn't even that bad. It was probably the smoothest experience I ever had. I was like, bro, not an issue.
Was it like a heavy ass AK with all the furniture on the front?
Yeah, it was it's like a Canadian version where it's an LMG.
Okay.
And it's like a Type 87, so it's like the mix of the Chinese SKS and an AK put together. And it still has the gas piston, the full stroke gas piston and all that stuff, right? And it was just like very, very smooth.
Just like butter.
Yeah. The hardest gun for me to shoot was honestly the Glock 17 because like the way you shoot it is different. I was losing the grip the entire time and I was just like, what the fuck is this?
And I have 3 Glocks. I have 3 Glock 17s and 5 Glocks in total.
Yeah.
So I'm really confident and comfortable with the ergonomics and stuff like that.
Yes.
But like the way the trigger worked was different.
Yes.
And it wasn't that easy to shoot.
Yeah, it was kind of a weird mushy trigger. And then I shot the SIG, the P320. Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. I was like, don't, no fucking issue.
But you were making those sounds while you were shooting it though.
Yes.
Yes.
You couldn't hear it though over the bang.
Yeah, okay.
The Magnum, the first gun I shot was a Smith & Wesson.
What,
and
M500 or something?
Yeah, like a whatever. I don't fucking remember what it was, but it was a 308 Wesson 38 Special or some shit. Very clean, very nice. I shot it modern style, which is stupid because if your finger is near the cylinder, it'll literally fuck your fucking finger up.
Really?
Yeah, because that spin will just
like it'll bite it or something?
Yeah, it'll bite it. So I was like, oh shit. And then I shot the 44 Magnum, the Dirty Harry.
Oh, the autoloader.
Bro, when I shot that thing, it goes back like this, but the flash is crazy. I think
yeah, that's the whole
I think
thing.
like, you know when you close your eyes, you just black out and you see your light flash before your eyes? Like that happened to me. I was like, boom, every time. And I was like reincarnated every time for every 6 bullets. I was like, I lived 6 lives with the amount of blowback on this shit. It was crazy. I was glad that I shot real guns because now I can finally say, like, with conviction say like I know what it's like to shoot real guns now, because up until now I've never shot a gun in my life. I never touched a real gun,
and like people online make it out to be so different to airsoft.
It's not that hard.
It's like we're playing with like cap guns,
yeah,
and they've got artillery. It's like I don't know. It's much closer.
Like I can see what they mean with the recoil and like the fear for your life when you're actually fighting someone with that amount of power against you. I can. Now that I've shot the guns, I was like, oh yeah, you can't just run around and do some cheese shit. Like you actually have to brace that shit and then shoot. And then the flash and the gas and the smell, and it's like, and you're like shooting at someone in CQB. That's a death wish. Like I would never want to do CQB in actual real life.
Well, like I was watching this thing on YouTube, and it has like this military specialist, and he's saying, I don't run a suppressor for CQB.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, that video. Yeah.
And I'm like, that makes sense. Because like I'm going to concuss people when I go around a corner with the sound.
It's loud.
I was like, yeah, it would.
Bro, even that staccato, when I use that at breakpoint, it's like, bam, 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 bam.
Yeah. And I've got that staccato. And for anyone that's played airsoft before, they're like, yeah, it's a gas gun. Any new player, like, what?
Yeah, they're scared. They're scared.
Yeah.
I remember the very first time I ever heard CO2, I was at Asobiba, and I didn't know the concept of CO2. And I'm just hearing this guy with the 1911, and I guess he had the baton one, and all he hears, bam, bam.
Wait, before it broke?
Yeah, before it broke. It broke, I guess. But all he hears, bam, bam, bam. I was like, yo, what is that? Is that like a gas gun? And it's like, it was CO2. I was like, yo, that's loud, bro.
And it's got a little recoil to it too?
You got a little recoil in there. But honestly, like, it's hard to kind of go back to gas guns, but you use CO2 guns. The only problem with CO2 guns is that they're so unreliable.
Oh, yeah.
And they break. Especially, my old staccato.
Especially your SIG that you sold me.
I'm sorry. Did you sell it? Did you get rid of it?
I tried to.